I was a little disappointed. You have to unconditionally support your players, and there's a time and place to reflect in May and June. But right now, your audience is the locker room, Greeny, and you have to love your players unconditionally and have their back. And I don't think that was Kyle Shanahan.
What was it he said there that you took issue with?
Well, just the fact that he went on to say that there was options in those plays, and if the plays were executed better, well, yeah, that's probably true. But there's a time and place for that, Greeny. Again, they had just lost the biggest game of the year. You have to support Jimmy Garoppolo, barring something unforeseen, is your starting quarterback next year. Your whole organization has to know that the head coach believes in him.
I mean, he did say that. He did say that he still believes in him. He did say that he was the MVP of that game through 3 quarters, all of which is true. Once and for all, Acho, because we haven't had you here all week long, do you blame the coach or the quarterback for the 49ers losing?
I blame them both. And why? Because they're both at fault. Number one, I blame Kyle Shanahan. Don't put Jimmy G in that situation. Now, you might be saying, Acho, he's a quarterback. He makes $137 million. What do you mean don't put him in that situation? Give the ball to your best players in situations like that. Here's the problem, Greeny, with so many analytics. You might be thinking, well, it was a perfect play call, 2nd and 5. Well, that's that run that you see, which makes a lot of sense.
Right.
But then after the running play, you get to the 2nd and 5, and everybody's like, Acho, that's a perfect play call. You have Kittle on Suggs. A perfect play call, Greeny, is the play that works. So, yes, Chris Jones made a decent play batting the ball down later on in the game, but I have an issue with Shanahan putting Jimmy G in that situation because he wasn't the best player. The best player was Mostert, and it had been proven to be Mostert.
I agree with you, in fact, which is why I say I don't blame both. I mean, if you're going to pick one, Kyle Shanahan's job, in my opinion, was to not allow Jimmy G to be the reason they lost the game. Jimmy G did the best he could. He wasn't their best player. You went down without your best stuff. That's why I put it on the coach. And for him to say somewhat cavalierly, well, when things don't go well, you're going to blame the quarterback and then they're going to blame the play caller, is, in my opinion, to some degree. And look, I think he's a great coach. There's no question of that. He did an unbelievable job this year. But sometimes you have to own it. They blew it in that 4th quarter, and I thought the play calling was the primary reason why.
Exactly. It goes back to the 2nd and 5. We're not talking about 2nd and 10. It's 2nd and 5. And what got you to the Super Bowl, as you guys mentioned, it was Raheem Mostert. So go down with your best guns.
And that, all of that said, Jeremy Fowler, insider extraordinaire, there is no wavering on Jimmy G in San Francisco.
No, well, Kyle Shanahan he's not lying there. I've talked to several people in the building. They love Garoppolo, not only now, but for the future. That's what makes the 4th quarter so surprising to them, because I'm told all year they loved his balance of cool and calm, but laser focus. He'd be the guy on the sidelines joking around, hey, how you doing? And then he'd go out and play well with 2 minutes left. And so when it didn't happen, they're kind of like, okay, I don't understand now because he's done it all year. But from what I've heard, there's really no wavering on their options with him as the #1 starter next year.
And I'm not saying that you should waver, but you would have to have Jimmy G glasses on to think that he was going to win that duel against Mahomes. We said this before the week, Greeny, leading up to the Super Bowl. Jimmy G in a duel against Mahomes, that's not the answer. Now, Jimmy G has to hit Emmanuel Sanders. Jimmy G on the 2nd and 5, it was tipped, but you have to find a way. Hopefully you can get it there, sidearm, pump fake, something. But Jimmy G is good. But Jimmy G is not great, and good is the enemy of great.
Well, and he may ultimately become great. I don't know. I think it's important to point out that despite the fact that he's been in the league a long time, he has started 29 games, including playoffs. That's the same number as Baker Mayfield. It's only 5 more games than Lamar Jackson has started, and we keep talking about how young and new at all of this Lamar Jackson is. So Jimmy G has a long way to go and grow, and hopefully will. I wouldn't move on from him under any circumstances. I'm just saying that wasn't their best shot to win the game. Real quick.
Yeah, and Green, the reality is 6 minutes to go, they have the ball in the lead to win the Super Bowl. Like, it's 6 minutes away from being a world champion.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports, highlights, and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.